I really believe we are starting the best time of the year right now, today, as a matter of fact, because there's always that specific time of year right around here where everything starts to feel different. The air starts to change, the mood starts to change. Not a lot just yet, but just enough that you notice it when you start to walk around the stores, when you're getting ready for everything that you're doing. You still feel that heat holding on every time you walk outside to check the mail. It's all there, but it's losing its grip just a little bit. There's that edge to the morning, the electricity in the air. Every single year, that first afternoon that feels like that is always the same to me. It doesn't make me sad like it does a lot of people for what's kind of ending right now, the so long to summer. It makes me want to stand outside and just breathe it in because I know exactly what is coming, still hidden under the heat just a little bit. It is back to school. It is Friday Night Lights. It is that first cold snap. It is every horror movie I love back on the front of the shelf where it belongs. It's a table full of family the night before Thanksgiving. It's Christmas lights going up on our house right after Halloween and spooky season is over. For 5 months, August, September, through the end of December, it is the best stretch of the calendar every single year, and it starts right now. So tonight, I want to talk about those months. I want to walk you through it and why I think we've forgotten how just being excited for something without waiting for permission is so important, and we're going to talk about it. So pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this. You know what I remember the most about this time of year, like this week, like as school gets ready to start back everywhere? I remember being a kid getting ready for school to start back, and it wasn't so much the dread of having to get up early and go back to school. It was the school supply aisle. No kidding, 100%, because there was a decision to be made back in the day, and that was what kind of stuff was going to define you. And for me back then, it was which Trapper Keeper were you going to get? Everybody, I remember the guys I know, they all wanted the Lamborghini Trapper Keeper back in the 80s. It was like the red, like, sports car. It was always the Lamborghini, and that was like this status symbol. Like, you had that. It was like instant playground respect when I was really young. And every year, though, I gotta be honest, I walked right past that one. I'm a car guy, I like cars, but I walked right past that one and straight to like the one that was the neon beach night scene and palm trees. Very, very 80s look. The sunset colors, that whole like vaporware aesthetic 30 years before anybody called it that. Or there was another one that I would get, and it was the black one with like the geometric neon shapes, and I didn't want what everybody else had. I wanted the ones that felt like me even back then. And underneath the whole Trapper Keeper decision was more of the real stuff, like the nervous, excited feeling of the actual first day of school, standing there figuring out who was going to be in your class that year, which teacher you got, whether your best friend was down the hall or 3 doors away. The sort of dread of that alarm clock, though, that was real, particularly for me. I'm not a morning person, and you had to get that adjustment going. And then I remember the smells, like coming from the lunchroom, the rectangle pizza. And I don't know exactly what kind of design chemistry they used back then, but it was like pre-molded perfect fit to the slot in the tray, the lunch tray that it went on. I mean, it was so well done, it might as well have been designed by NASA with a laser. But if you think about it, you can smell that rectangle pizza, and when you do, it's not 2026 anymore. You're a kid again, tray in hand, a couple of chocolate milks, and looking for your friends to sit down at the lunch table. To me, that's not the end of something. That is a season starting. And when one season's starting, everything else is coming behind it that you love, particularly with this season. And for me, this season always starts with football because you start practicing in the heat and then you get ready for the boys of fall, playing football throughout the fall. And if you follow this channel, you know football means a lot to me and my son. But when I was younger and playing high school ball, I was a defensive lineman, which means if you know football, you're not supposed to be anywhere near the end zone ever. You're probably never going to score a touchdown. That's not your job. Your job is trench warfare, right on the ball, in the trenches, hitting hard with big dudes, and nobody remembers your name on Monday. But one game, I sacked the quarterback, stripped him. The ball was right there on the ground in the end zone, and I recovered it for a touchdown. Now, that's already enough to tell your grandkids about if you're a defensive lineman because it just never happens. But then later in that same game, I scooped up a fumble and ran 40 yards for a touchdown. That was 2 touchdowns in one game for a defensive lineman. That doesn't happen to a lineman most of the time in their career. It happened to me before the fourth quarter ever got there. And here's like my favorite detail that I remember of that. I really wanted to spike the ball after the second touchdown because, like, come on, I was caught up in the moment. But that is a penalty in high school. And so I didn't do it. I just dropped the ball and celebrated with my friends. But afterwards, before we went out and shook hands with the team across from us, my coach handed me the football and said, "Spike it because you earned it, son." And I spiked that ball. It must have bounced 50 yards, and he had to go pick it up. And that was football season for me, not just Friday nights under the lights, the once-in-a-lifetime earned moments that I still remember 30 years later. And if you're paying attention, those are the things that count the most, and they're all part of this season. But then we really start to get to it later on when the air gets crisp and the nights get long and spooky season turns and all those shelves change. It's already starting to happen right now this year. You've seen this already if you've been paying attention because I'm like getting you ready for spooky season. And a lot of people start to say, you know, when they see people posting stuff online and they see the stores posting stuff, they're calling it too early, too commercial, too much. And I don't necessarily feel that way about it. Some things maybe, but I want to tell you why. And I don't feel that way because it goes back a little bit. Growing up, we made our own costumes every single year. Most all the time. Like, we might buy things to go with them. We might get some makeup and stuff. But this wasn't like a Pinterest project that people do now. It wasn't for all that. It was just what you did. You looked around the house. You figured out things that you could put together. You maybe got some grease paint or some charcoal or your mom's lipstick or something, and you made a costume out of it. So one year, my brother and I, we would be hobos, which meant like charcoal and stuff on your face and, you know, a stuffed pillow in your shirt and a sack with, you know, like a bandana tied around to the end of a stick kind of thing, and your dad's old flannel. Another year we might be a clown, which meant you were getting that, what was it, like the paws or whatever, grease paint for your face. Or we would do a vampire. We'd slick our hair back and paint our faces white and get plastic fangs and fake blood, and you'd talk funny all night because they would be in your mouth. Or we'd be like, this was the 80s, so we'd be like punk rockers, and we would get that colored hairspray and clip-on earrings. But here's the thing I didn't really understand at the time that was really fun. And it wasn't just the sacks of candy, which were also awesome. It was the making of it. Standing in front of a mirror trying to figure out how to make fake blood look like real blood, deciding what the monster should look like, and then building it out with whatever you had in your house and whatever you could afford to buy and scrape together. I make horror movies now, and I spent 20 plus years obsessed with figuring out how to make practical effects look cool with what's actually going in front of the camera, not wasting an ounce of effort, moment, money, or creativity, putting everything you can in front of the camera. And with creating monsters built by hands instead of computers. That all started in spooky season, on Halloween nights, in front of the bathroom mirror with charcoal and grease paint on my face. So no, I am not going to make fun of people who are getting excited early, because we don't have enough to get excited about anymore, really, collectively. So if people are getting excited, let it rip, baby, because we do the same thing in our house. Every year the season gets a little bit longer, starts a little sooner. And it's not because retail told us to. It's actually quite the opposite of that, because when everything else moves this fast, when everybody's got their own private algorithm, their own separate feed, and almost nothing is shared anymore, the only way to actually live inside something that you love this much, a time that you love this much, is to actually give it more room, more days, more time to slow down, immerse yourself in it, just be there in those moments. That's why I don't do a Halloween video. I do a season on this channel, weeks of it. The movies, the memories, the nostalgia, the nights we can't get back, and the things that we can bring forward. Because the whole point of it is to not rush through any one stretch of the year where the entire country still gets to be a little bit spooky and fun and nostalgic all at the same time. It is to slow down and embrace it for everything it is. Some of you have been here for a couple years since I started the channel, in my Septembers and Octobers of spooky season, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Wall to wall, nostalgia, memories, horror movies, all kinds of stuff. It's all here because I love sharing it. And this year, I'll be honest, it's going to be the biggest year I have ever built Halloween spooky season style. So you got to be here for it. And then there's Christmas. But before I get to Christmas, there is a moment that kind of gets overlooked. That deep fall, autumn, when the wet, colored leaves have almost all fallen, and spooky season has just passed, and Christmas season is just about to get ramped up. And that's where true fall, true autumn, and Thanksgiving live. They live in those moments because it is the quieter spot in the middle, the reflective spot between these two massive seasons that we love so much. And for us, that meant the night before Thanksgiving. Every year since I was old enough to remember, I would help my mom prepare food. We would prep everything, baking, all of the chopping and prep work for the food and the dishes we were going to eat. We would do that the night before Thanksgiving. And that's usually when we would first really start listening to Christmas music big time. And we would have something cool on TV. Now she likes to do Hallmark and other Christmas movies, traditional stuff. But I would also often put like Rocky on the TV and let it play in the background, because Rocky also embraces this season, because it kind of starts around Thanksgiving and goes through Christmas and New Year's. So it kind of feels like it fits here as a nice comfort background in one of my favorite movies of all time. But then dinner the next day for Thanksgiving, we always did and still do early in the day, which means we can have a second meal of Thanksgiving leftovers later in the evening. Thanksgiving in this time of deep autumn, it's not flashy. It's not the main event. It's not either of the two main events on anybody's countdown calendar, not really, but it is sort of the hinge, the reflective moment that is between the two big swings of this time of year, and I love it for that exact reason. And then, like right when it's the darkest, right when the year is about to run out and the days are the shortest and it's really cold, it's past the deep autumn, we're right here around winter time, it's Christmas time. And when I was a kid, we used to decorate the day after Thanksgiving, and I actually continued that as I started to get older, and we wouldn't do it before. We would do it the day after Thanksgiving. That was the rule, and that rule was sort of the whole point of it at the time. Thanksgiving got its day, because it's really a day or two. It's not a full season. It got its day, and then overnight the houses would transform. And back then, when I was a kid, we would make these like paper chains starting then, like, construction paper, Christmas wrapping paper, cut them into circles, staple them together, and you'd make a countdown chain, and you'd pull off one link for every day until you would count it down. And this wasn't a big thing, but when you're a kid, it added to the excitement, and it was a tradition that you would do. And here's the thing that happened over the years, though. We started decorating earlier and earlier, much like with spooky season and Halloween. Now stuff goes up the first week of November. My kids are used to that. We go big. We have multiple trees, and I mean that literally. We do a Disney and Universal Parks tree. We do a regular tree loaded down with ornaments that we've collected over the decades that each carry their own specific story. We have a Georgia Bulldog tree that's in our dining room. It's white with all the red and black Georgia ornaments on it. And then we have a National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation tree, because if you know me, you know I love that movie, and that is the only real tree in the house with like all the gaudiness that you could think of that fits that movie absolutely perfectly. And then people ask me about that. They're like, why so early? Doesn't it get old? Don't you get bored with it? Doesn't it wear out? And I give them the same answer that I give for Halloween, and it's the honest one. We've extended it because we didn't want to lose it. We wanted more of it, because somewhere along the way, Christmas got way faster. Everybody's got their own version of it now in their own feeds, the same as spooky season. A lot of it gets staged for photos on social media for you to scroll over, and that snapshot looks like the greatest thing ever, but it isn't real, and it isn't shared, because the shared part is thinning out. The specials everybody watched on the same night, the songs everybody knew, the whole country pointed at the same thing for a few weeks. That's gotten spread apart now. It's gotten individualized to your algorithm. So we couldn't slow the world down. We can't stop that. So we made our part of it longer. We pulled our traditions forward and expanded them out. More days of the season, more time in the lights, more room to actually sit inside the thing that we love instead of rushing past it on our way to January. That's why Christmas gets multiple weeks on this channel too, and it's going to expand this year. Filled with the movies that we still love to watch, the Christmas specials that we all remember, all of those things, the memories, the traditions, the ones we lost and the ones that we're going to keep bringing forward and keep going with. That paper chain still exists somewhere in my head and in my heart, and I know it does for a lot of you too. One link shorter every day. I've just spent my whole adult life making that chain longer. So no, I don't feel like the first day of August and leading into spooky season, or that first cold day or first cool breath of air in the morning is about something ending. I feel like it is something that is starting. It's counting down to everything I love the most about to begin. A trapper-keeper decision, 2 touchdowns from a defensive lineman that nobody expected, charcoal and grease paint on my face in the bathroom, getting ready for Halloween, my mom's kitchen, Christmas music playing a day early, 4 trees in one house lit up just as Halloween has finished. That's not one season. That's like 4 or 5 months of things worth being excited about, back to back to back. And I have never once been able to talk myself out of loving every single part and every single moment of it. I'm a big kid. Call me that if you want to, but we get one life here. Enjoy the things that you love, because that's not one season. It is so much more than that. August through December, the best stretch of the year, in my opinion, and it is not particularly close. And starting very soon, this channel's about to run through every single one of them with you, and we're going to live those moments together. I'll see you for the first one coming up later this month, and that's what I got for you today. Just some excitement. Don't be sad. Don't be worried about all the things that you think, that freedom of summertime or whatever it is ending, be excited about the greatest stretch of the year that is beginning right now, today, and we're going to share it together and live through it together. I am pumped. So if you are to like, subscribe, hit the hype button, be here for it all. And if you want to help support us a little more along the way, my Patreon is in the description down there. You'll get your name on every video, special extended versions of like looks around my house, things that I do around Christmas time and Halloween and all of that, looks at my filmmaking with all those horror movies that I discussed as I remaster them for new physical media releases, so much more, and it all helps the channel. But drop in the comments too, what's the moment every year when you feel that switch flip for you? And I told you mine, you know what it is. Get ready, because I'm going to knock your socks off with it. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. And I'm excited for it. Bye-bye. I know.